Hello and welcome to another episode of the Well-Appointed Desk. Today I would like to talk about a subcategory of fountain pens, snap cap models. And there aren't a ton of options that I'm aware of. Most have twist caps, but there are a few brands in particular that have created some snap cap pens, and I really like using them, particularly if I'm in an office environment and I'm in a meeting where you're sitting for a while and then you have to take a quick note. So instead of having to untwist and twist the cap back on and off repeatedly, snap caps are just more convenient. Or if you're sitting at your desk and you just need to have a pen laying there for the occasional note, they're great. And some of these models, these are all relatively full-length, full-sized pens. So you can actually use cartridges, and in some cases fit two cartridges in the barrel, one behind the other, so that you have a backup, which is honestly one of my favorite features, particularly for like an office environment where you don't necessarily want to have to refill your pen from an ink bottle, or you're sitting in a meeting and your pen runs out of ink. You can literally just pop it out, and I will demo that here. So I will use probably the one that I've used most frequently in an office environment, and that is the Karan 849. This one has been used so much, I damaged the nib to the point where it was unusable. I had them send me a replacement nib and continued to abuse it so much that I eventually just figured out that I could swap out the nib unit myself with sort of a non-standard nib. So my poor little Karan 849 now has a D-like nib, which is a Chinese sort of version, and it actually fit. The feed and the nib fit in here perfectly and has worked great. So this has been my solution. One, the bright color makes it really easy to find. People tend not to pick it up and swipe it off your desk because you would know, you'd see them leaving. But also, this model does allow for an extra cartridge, so it's just perfect for having around the office, because you know, it's easy cleaning, tidying up. The nib that's on this, I think it's just their standard fine. But yeah, so this is the Karan 849 with the like nib. So, and it looks like I just grabbed any old cartridge, so it's probably just black. I refer to that as cartridge roulette. I just grab whatever I can find, and yeah, off I go. So this is definitely probably the most unusual one because I sort of hacked the nib and everything. But if you like the look of the 849, I had really liked their rollerball 849s. So when they came out with this one, I liked that it was hexagonal shaped and a little bit more slender. Probably the first one I started using in that capacity. But then you have things like the Pilot Metropolitan, which is also a snap cap, and it's not usually stuff people talk about. They talk about it more because it's a fairly reasonably priced pen at around $30, $35. This has a fine nib on it. And the one thing with the Pilot Metropolitan is that it ships with a squeeze converter. I believe it's their Con 30, which is not a great converter. It's very hard. It's hard to use because you can't see if you've gotten all the ink out of it. It's often hard to tell if you got a full fill because you're using that sort of squeeze mechanism. So I tend to recommend that people swap out the Con 30 with a Con 50. Right now I have a cartridge in here, which is a Pilot Shizuku Kujaku. But the Con 50 is the standard piston mechanism. They sell for somewhere between about $7 and $10. So it does make the pen a little bit more expensive, but it will make your experience so much better. So the writing experience with the Pilot nib, the Metropolitan nib is spectacular. It's super smooth. It's just an all-around like great pen. If bright lime green is not your thing, they do sell these in like blacks and browns and some other colors. But lime green is one of my favorite colors. So if you can't tell by the nails. So that's also a really great option. Keeping with Pilot, they also make the Prera model. This particular one is the Japanese market, not exclusive, but it's like the version of the Prera that they make for the Japanese market. They do some for the US market where the whole pen body is a opaque plastic and they come in some bright, fun colors. At one point in time, I did have a lime green version, but the Japanese version, they come with clear and then they have just a translucent colored ends to differentiate. But the nice thing with these is that they do come in other nib sizes besides like a fine and a medium. This is their CM, which is calligraphy medium, I think is what it's supposed to stand for. But it basically becomes like a fine stub. It's what I wrote this with. And you can see, let me see if I hold this up close enough if you guys can kind of see that nib is, it's got a bit of a flat angle here before it comes down into its little nibby shape. So as opposed to a nib that tends to have more of a rounded point, it has this nice flat, which is going to give you some variation in your line widths. So you're going to get, when you're going left to right, you're going to get fine lines. When you go up and down, you're going to get wider lines. Unless, like me, you're left-handed and tend to write upside down, and then it's just reversed, which is not a big deal. So, but yeah, so this is, and again, this is a super smooth. This one's a little bit more expensive because it is imported directly from Japan. I want to say it's between $45 and $55. I don't remember if it actually, this is the Con 50 converter that's in here. I can't remember if I actually had to purchase this separately or if it came with it. I don't remember, but again, it's worth it to upgrade to this one. It's a clear, so you can see if you've gotten all your ink cleared out of it. Definitely go with the Con 50. There's the Con 70, which is the one that's supposed to work with like a vacuum mechanism. It's unnecessarily complicated for a converter. Like I think a twist mechanism is totally fine and, you know, more than adequate. Also, it's a little bit cheaper. So also in the land of Pilot, this is the Cavaliere, which is a very slender, clearly designed to appeal to a feminine market, a more delicate, because it is so tiny and it comes in pastel colors and everything. Again, it's another one that's specific to the Japanese market. But I really like thin pens, so that's fine. They have my number. That's cool. And this one is just, again, it's just a beautiful writer. And this one has I think it was a fine nib, and I may have had it adjusted to make it a little bit finer. This one is a little bit more expensive. I want to say maybe it was around $100. It is metal. Well, I mean, so far all except for the Prera, which is plastic, have been aluminum or some version of metal. But I think, again, because this one is imported from Japan, it was a little bit more expensive. And I'll put links to where you can find these models in the note, in the description below. So the last two I have to talk about, one is the Y Studio resin model, and it has a pop top as well. At first I thought it was just like a friction fit, but there is a little pop there. So it's fairly lightweight. It does have this brass grip section, which gives it a very aesthetic look. It has a faceted design similar to the Karan, but the facets, the angles are sharper. So it's that whole difference between sort of like a pencil that has the like really crisp edges versus the ones that have more of a rounded hex shape. So I find this one really comfortable. I really like it. They taper down on these facets as you get closer to the grip section, so I don't find it particularly noticeable. And this one, I swapped out the nib on it, so it actually has a Franklin Christoph. I think it's a fine sig that I may have had ground at a pen show. And this is the Y Studio. So again, this, you know, having a stub nib grind on this just gives the line variation just a little bit more character. And I believe the ink in this one is Califolio. I didn't even mention that on any of the other ones. The Cavaliere has Califolio, Andronople. This is Califolio Granat. This is Robert Oster Crema, Cafe Crema. The Karan was Cartridge Roulette. And the Metropolitan was the Kujaku, the Aroshizuku. So, and then the last one, this was a special edition of the Diplomat Esteem that they had a calligrapher do a design, and then it's just done as a wrap. So you can kind of see the line here where they wrapped this sort of painted pattern. I ended up really liking the sort of aesthetic of this, which is why I bought it, and then delighted at the snap cap. And again, I think this one may have a... No, it just has a standard twist converter in here. I was thinking it, you know, it would probably hold 2 cartridges as well if you wanted to. And this is the stock fine nib. So this is the Diplomat. Esteem. And the ink in this one, I believe, is Neko Yanagi from Sailor. So, Neko Yanagi. Which is a lovely sort of multi-chromatic purple to pink, like lavendery kind of color. So anyway, these are my snap cap collection. I really like snap cap pens. If you have not, do you have any snap cap pens in your collection? Do you like them? Have you ever tried them before? I think that they're a great addition, and they definitely they serve a certain purpose. For the most part, I feel like the price points tend to be below $100 or so for the snap cap models for the most part. There may be some exceptions, but I definitely think that they're sort of the mid-range price point pens. So I don't know what that says or means about snap cap pens, whether it doesn't feel as high-end as having a twist cap in a higher end pen, or if it's just not something that at a higher end people play around with. I know that in order to do it, there usually has to be some sort of plastic piece or something for it to grip onto. So that might be part of it. As you're paying a higher price, you don't want the pen, like those plastic parts, to break over time. So that might be it. At a lower price point, it might have a shelf life. I don't know. But like I said, even my Karan, which has gone through years and years of abuse, the snap cap part of it was not the thing that broke. It was the nib unit, and as a result losing the nib. So yeah. So anyway, that is snap caps. Tell me what you think of them, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.